Hi, everyone, and welcome to the J7409 Hangout Today show with my special guest, Mr. Gill Broussard. How are you today, Gill? Thank you so much for being with us.
Jay, well, thank you for having me, and I appreciate you giving me a call.
You're more than welcome. Today, folks, we've got a very intelligent man on this subject of Planet X. Let me tell you a little bit about him first before we get started. Gill is from Louisiana. He's an independent researcher. He's an amateur astronomer. He's a very knowledgeable man. We spent hours talking yesterday and enjoyed every minute of it. He's a former engineer. I believe that's right. Isn't that, Gill? A former engineer?
Senior engineer tech. Yeah, it's a designer for the oil and gas industry.
And you have been places all around the world and talked to people about this Planet X. Is that not correct?
I've been around the world as pertaining to my profession in the oil field. I started talking about this after my research got more than halfway finished, let's say. It's still going on, and that's when I started talking to people. But it's from the U.S. I've been reaching out to people.
Okay, I have people today that in one segment of the program later on, I will take questions that they can ask you. Okay, so I have a question and answer thing on my screen, and when that time comes, anybody who has any questions for Mr. Broussard, you can put them up there. Okay, and today the main thing that really is and really touches my soul, it's a part of me, is how Gill has connected this all in correlation with the Bible. Now, one question right off the bat, before we get into a lot of detail, I've even had people ask me on my promo about the show today, why do you call it Planet X7?
7X. It's whenever a person has new findings and it either contradicts what's out there, you title it in a way that whenever the subject matter is coming up, and if it's mentioned, it actually refers to the research that is being done there. Like if a lot of people will refer to Stitchion's work for the 3,600-year orbit. I'm in disagreement of that only because the data is pointing to a much shorter time span, closer to like 360 instead, but it's not a stable orbit. I just put forth the evidence that I was able to accumulate and let people make up their own mind. Sometimes people get married to information that they read, but they don't realize it's circular reasoning, that there's no hard evidence backing it. That's what I found out, and that's why I was pretty much a skeptic on the whole topic. And because there was that circular reasoning, and there wasn't no white paper documents confirming such an object, and until I came across the Chinese records, where they've had some white paper reports on that.
I started to say there was a white paper document from the Chinese that helped you come to this 360 orbit instead of the 3,600 orbit. Is that correct? Would you like to elaborate on that?
Sure, I can show them. I can show you viewers. This is the one that the Chinese records right here. The reevaluation of the Eastern and Western records of the supernova of 1054. It was done by the Dublin Institute of Advanced Studies. What that shows us, it shows us the that this object came by in 1054, and it was not a supernova. Supernova does not move in multiple constellations. And after this scientific paper was written, that it can't be a supernova because they documented moving in multiple constellations. So when I did my research, I found a correlation let me show you here. This is the results. Whenever we plotted the Chinese events as they misdescribed from the viewpoint of Earth, this green circle is Earth's orbit, and then I have these little alphabets that are representing the months. Okay, and it shows these gray lines shows their view, it's a direction of view at the time, and you can see how it correlates with a elliptical orbit. The supernova is here, so it can't be in multiple constellations if it's stationary. What's interesting is this plot we did here happened to match the biblical model of 150 days from entry right here to exit. It's between 150 and 152 days. That's like winning the lottery probably like 10 times in a row, because this object, we have it where it crosses Earth orbit twice. And that's very unusual for any object to be able to do that. This is a unique item here.
Yes, yes, it is. You know, before we dig a whole lot further, a lot of people are putting pictures up that they're getting pictures of, they're seeing two suns or this, that, and all the other, but you can't see it, right, Gill?
No.
Not see it.
According to astronomy, you know, the math, science here, when NASA saw it, let's see if I can find a drawing to actually show you this. When NASA saw it, about 8 years out of our solar system, it doesn't come into view for our land-based optics till about 8 years later, which where it reaches Neptune's orbit, which would have been in year 2000. According to the software, it takes 16 years for this object to reach the sun from Neptune's orbit. No one has gotten a picture of this thing since that time. NASA went silent on the whole matter in December 1992. The Vatican infrared telescope went online in 1993. Since then, we have evidence that NASA sent a solar sail in the mid-90s, but there's no record of them launching it. They had built one. There's no reason for them to build one at that time, per se, because they weren't going to Mars like they say the solar sails were used for sending cargo. I believe that the solar sail was put up there to block our view.
You know, Gill, speaking of the solar sail there, like you're showing us, I really don't remember the public being informed about the solar sails in any really usage way of using it until about the last 5 or 6 years ago. But they made these things back in the 1990s, and they might put a little something out here and there for the public to know, but no big deal. The general populace wouldn't know about it. So
Right.
Very well, if they put that solar sail right in place, yes, very well, it could help hide it. I agree with you.
From 1992 to year 2000, they had 8 years to devise a plan and implement it. And for them to preserve the markets, the financial market and such, to where they could have the revenue streams to prepare the Earth, the first thing they had to do was preserve the financial markets, block our view from it. Now, this object can block our view, but it can't block the effects. Let's take a short moment to look at the effects of this thing. This is a chart showing, this is from the USGS before they put it down. They had taken it down from the internet or from the public view. You can still have access to it if you know how to find it. This shows you how the escalation of earthquakes has taken a dramatic change. And look, when they actually found it was in 1992, and how it entered our solar system year 2000. This is where it is today. This is the last graph that I was able to find showing where it was in year 2013. There's a dramatic change. Here's the annual temperature of the Earth that's been changing drastically. Matter of fact, all of the planets in the universe, the temperatures are changing drastically, not just Earth. So this is not associated with greenhouse gas warming, okay? Global warming. This is something outside that's affecting all of the planets. Here's the drought regions. Here's the natural catastrophes that are elevated. Here's the tornadoes for the U.S. That's way off the charts. Here's all of the record breakers, 2013. Climate change record breakers. This is a recent map showing all of the fish kill and bird kill, massive deaths. These are the volcanic, let me see, eruptions. I think yesterday, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before, there was 7 active volcanoes that went off at the same time globally. That's never been heard of before.
I keep up with volcanoes quite a bit, and Kalbuka has gone off for the 3rd time now. It went off again late yesterday. Down in South America, that volcano, this is 3 times in 2 weeks it's gone off. And at this point, last time it was 1,500 people they had to evacuate. Now it's up to 2,500. And yesterday also, 2 earthquakes were right on the New Madrid fault line. I believe one was a 2 point something and one was a 1 point something. But anyway, it was right on that fault line. So far as the current events happening right now, they are still escalating and starting to grow in every area. So I agree with everything you're saying there. You know, Gill, it's like some people think that this planet, it has so many names to go by. Do you even know how many names it's called?
No, I know it's probably grown to over 80 now.
Wow. Well, some people think that it's a brown dwarf. What's your take on that?
I don't believe it is, because the any type of star type of object that would have, let me see, immense gravity, and therefore it doesn't meet the data that we've seen where this object passed between the moon and the Earth. The gravity would have to be similar to its mass as Earth is. It could be a little bit more, but it's going to be similar. Otherwise, it could grab us in its wake and drag us to a larger orbit or into deep space. So for the events that I've been able to document and the data that the eyewitness accounts are giving, and for it to match the model that they had no prior knowledge of Kepler's laws of planetary motion. For instance, like Joshua's long day right here.
I was going to ask you about that, so go ahead and tell us all about Joshua's long day, what you found.
Well, what's interesting is that they didn't have any knowledge of Kepler's law of planetary motion or the brand new science that the physics departments are saying that the universe is electromagnetic, and that the tail of a comet is actually plasma, not ice particles. If a tail of a comet is ice particles, and as you can see in here where Earth enters into the plasma tail, if it entered into ice particles, then there would be no effect to Earth. It would not change its rotation. But if Earth entered into plasma right here, it would start to shut down the energy going into our north and south pole that causes the Earth to rotate on its axis. And as it enters deeper and deeper into the plasma, I can show you a little video. Let's see where that would be at, where it's at.
But it slowed the Earth down. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes. Let's see right here. When Earth entered into the plasma field and it crosses, these two items cross at a very near point here. You can see where